Most people over 65 are told the same thing about food. Eat less, cut your portions, slow down at the table because your body needs less now. It sounds sensible, it sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you. Eating less, all by itself, does not protect your independence. In fact, for a body over 65, eating less of the wrong things is one of the fastest ways to lose the strength that keeps you standing on your own 2 feet. Here is something rehabilitation clinics see every single day. A person comes in weaker, unsteady, and losing muscle, and their meals look perfectly healthy on paper. Small plates, light lunches, skipped breakfasts. Large studies on aging have shown for years that after 60, adults can lose muscle at a real and measurable pace. And much of that loss traces straight back to what does and does not land on the plate. So today, I am going to show you how to build the perfect plate after 65, with no measuring, no counting, and no kitchen scale. 5 simple building blocks in plain sight on your own plate, plus the one thing almost every doctor visit is too short to explain. And the number 1 building block on this list is something almost nobody talks about, even though it decides whether you can rise from a chair without using your hands. Stay with me right to the end, because that one block can change how strong you are for the next 10 years. Now let me tell you why you have probably never heard this laid out clearly. The average appointment with your doctor lasts around 12 minutes. In those 12 minutes, they must check your blood pressure, review your medications, look at your latest results, and answer your questions. There is simply no time left to sit with you and teach you how to build a plate, so you get a rushed line on the way out the door. Eat healthy, watch your weight, cut back on salt, all true and all useless, because nobody ever shows you what healthy actually looks like on the plate in front of you tonight. Let me be very clear about who I am and what I am doing here. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. No pills, no powders, and no fear. Just the plate you already own and the food you already buy, arranged the way an aging body actually needs it. Because this is not really about weight or numbers on a chart. This is about whether you can carry your own groceries up the front steps, stand up from a low car seat without a hand, and get off the toilet on your own at 2 in the morning. Every bite on that plate is either building the strength that keeps you independent or quietly letting it slip away. So before we go on, tell me in the comments, what is your age, and what does a typical lunch look like on your plate today? I read these, and they tell me exactly who I am talking to. Now here is the one idea that makes every block on this list work. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at pulling nourishment out of each meal. This is real, and it has a name. Researchers call it anabolic resistance, and it simply means your muscles have grown a little hard of hearing when protein and nutrients knock on the door. Think of your younger body as a wide, clear delivery river. Food went in, and supplies flowed easily downstream to your muscles, your bones, and your brain. After 65, that river narrows. The same meal that once delivered plenty now delivers less, because the channel is tighter and the current is slower. So the answer is not to send less down the river. The answer is to load each boat more carefully, with the right cargo in the right order. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows, because once you understand the narrowing river, every single building block will finally make sense. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button right now, so more seniors can find it. That one tap tells the system to show this to another person who needs to hear it tonight. Let us begin the countdown at building block number 5. Fill 1/2 of your plate with non-starchy vegetables, the leafy greens and colorful vegetables that grow above the ground. Here is why this half matters more after 65 than it ever did before. These vegetables are packed with fiber, and fiber is the slow break on your entire meal. Think of fiber like gravel mixed into fast-flowing water. It slows the rush, so sugar from the rest of the plate drips into your blood gently instead of flooding it. That steadier flow protects your energy, your blood sugar, and even the small blood vessels that feed your brain. And the fiber feeds the good bacteria in your gut, which after 65 is one of your quiet guardians of a strong immune system. Large nutrition studies have consistently shown that older adults who eat more vegetables and fiber have steadier blood sugar and better digestion. This is some of the most settled science in all of nutrition. So here is exactly how to do it, with no measuring at all. Look at your plate and picture a line straight down the middle. One whole half is vegetables, and I mean the plate you actually use, not a a side dish hiding in the corner. Aim for 2 different colors at every main meal because different colors carry different protectors. A good target is 2 cupped handfuls of vegetables on that half. The common mistake is counting potatoes, corn, or peas as your vegetables. Those are starches, and they belong in a different quarter we will get to. So keep this half to things like spinach, broccoli, peppers, tomatoes, carrots, and green beans. Now, a gentle safety note, because raw vegetables can be hard on older teeth and a sensitive stomach. If chewing is difficult, steam or roast them until a fork slides through easily, which keeps almost all the goodness. And if you take a blood thinner like warfarin, do not suddenly pile on the leafy greens because the vitamin K can affect your medication. Talk to your doctor first and keep your greens steady rather than swinging high one week and low the next. Pair this vegetable half with a spoonful of healthy fat, which is a block we will crown later. Here is why. Some of the most powerful protectors in vegetables only unlock when a little fat is present. A dry salad gives you a fraction of what the same salad with olive oil delivers. And keep building block number 1 in the back of your mind while you learn this, because that block is the reason all of this matters. Everything on this plate is quietly setting the table for the one thing that decides whether you can stand from a chair without your hands. But vegetables have a limit, and here is what they cannot do. All that fiber and color will not give your body the steady fuel it needs to walk, think, and get through the afternoon without crashing. For that, you need the right kind of energy in the right amount. And getting that wrong is where most people over 65 quietly go astray. That is building block number 4. Building block number 4. 1/4 of your plate is slow, whole carbohydrates, the steady fuels like oats, beans, lentils, sweet potato, and whole grains. Carbohydrates have been unfairly treated as the enemy, and for a body over 65, that fear can do real harm. Your brain and your muscles run on this fuel, and starving them leaves you foggy, weak, and unsteady on your feet. But there is a right kind and a wrong kind. Think of slow carbohydrates like logs on a fire that burn for hours, giving steady warmth. Fast carbohydrates like white bread and sugary snacks are like paper thrown on the flames, a quick flare, and then cold ash, which is exactly the crash that makes an afternoon nap feel mandatory. Major dietary research has shown again and again that whole grains and beans support steadier blood sugar and better heart health in older adults. These are foods human beings have thrived on for thousands of years. Here is the no counting method. 1/4 of the plate, and a simple way to see it is about 1 cupped handful of cooked carbohydrate, roughly the size of your own closed fist. Choose the version with the skin, the husk, or the whole seed still on it, because that is where the slow burning fiber lives. Have this fuel earlier in the day when you will actually move, rather than loading it late at night. The most common error is letting the starch quietly creep across the plate until it takes up half. Keep it to 1/4, use your fist as the measure, and let vegetables and protein own the rest. A safety word if you live with diabetes or take blood sugar medication. Carbohydrates raise your blood sugar, so do not make big changes on your own. Work with your doctor, and if you check your sugars at home, watch how each meal affects your numbers. If a food spikes you high or drops you low, that is your signal to adjust the portion, not to push through. Pair every serving of carbohydrate with protein or fat on the same plate. Here is why it works. That partner slows digestion even further, flattening the blood sugar curve so the fuel lasts. But even the perfect fuel and a plate full of vegetables leave one thing missing. Your brain, your joints, and your ability to absorb the protectors in those vegetables all depend on something this plate still does not have enough of. Without it, half of what you just ate slips by unused, and that is building block number 3. Building block number 3. Add 1 thumb-sized portion of healthy fat to the plate from foods like olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, and oily fish. After 65, fat is not the villain it was made out to be. It is a quiet repair crew. Your brain is nearly 60% fat, and it needs a steady supply to stay sharp. The right fats calm inflammation, which is the low, smoldering fire behind stiff joints and aching mornings. Think of healthy fat like the oil you put in a hinge that has started to squeak. A dry hinge grinds and complains, and a well-oiled one swings quietly, and your joints work much the same way. Decades of research on the Mediterranean way of eating point to olive oil, nuts, and oily fish as friends of the aging heart and brain. This is one of the most studied eating patterns in the world. Here is the simple, no measuring rule. 1 thumb of added fat per meal is your visual guide, about 1 tablespoon of olive oil or a small handful of nuts. Drizzle real olive oil over your vegetables because, as I said, that fat unlocks their protectors. Aim for oily fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel about 2 or 3 times a week, roughly a palm-sized piece each time. The classic mistake is drowning good food in fat, thinking more is better. It is not, because fat is rich in calories, so one thumb, not one fistful, is the target. A safety note on nuts and seeds, which can be a choking risk or hard to chew for some. If whole nuts are difficult, use smooth nut butters or ground seeds stirred into food instead. And if you have gallbladder trouble, a large amount of fat at once can bring on discomfort, so spread it across the day in smaller amounts. If any food brings on pain or bloating, that is your signal to ease back and check with your doctor. Pair your healthy fat with the vegetables from block number 5. Here is why. Fat and vegetables together are a team. One carrying the protectors, the other cannot deliver alone. We are getting closer to that number 1 block now, so hold on to it. It is the reason the other 4 matter at all, and it is the one that decides whether you keep living in your own home. Now you have the right building blocks on the plate, but there is a hidden lever that costs nothing, adds no food, and yet changes how your entire meal behaves inside your body. Miss it, and even a perfect plate works against you. That is building block number 2. Building block number 2, and this one adds nothing to your plate at all. It is the order in which you eat what is already there. Vegetables and protein first, and the starch last. This is the closest thing to a free gift in all of nutrition, and almost nobody over 65 has been told about it. When you eat your vegetables and protein before your carbohydrates, you blunt the blood sugar spike from that meal dramatically. Think of it like sending in the ground crew before you open the gates. The fiber and protein lay down a protective layer in your gut, so when the carbohydrate finally arrives, it is absorbed slowly and gently. Same food, same plate, but a calmer, steadier response in your body simply because of the order. Clinical research on meal sequencing has shown that eating vegetables and protein before carbohydrates can meaningfully lower the blood sugar rise after a meal. It is a small change with a surprisingly large effect. Here is exactly how to do it, and it costs you nothing. At every meal, spend the first 5 minutes on your vegetables and your protein. Eat the salad, the greens, the fish, or the chicken first. Then, and only then, turn to the potato, the rice, or the bread in the final third of the meal. Sip water throughout rather than washing everything down at the end. The only mistake here is old habit, reaching for the bread basket first, so move the starch to the side of the table and let it wait its turn. A gentle note if you take medication with meals or use insulin. Changing the order and the speed of your eating can change how your body handles sugar, so keep an eye on how you feel. If you ever feel shaky, sweaty, or lightheaded, that can be low blood sugar, and you should treat it and speak to your doctor. Never change your insulin timing on your own to match a new eating order. Pair this order with slow eating, putting your fork down between bites. Here is why. Eating slowly gives your body the 20 minutes it needs to feel full, so you finish satisfied on less. Now you have 4 building blocks: the vegetable half, the fuel quarter, the thumb of fat, and the order that ties them together. But all 4 are the supporting cast for one block that matters more than all of them combined. The one that decides whether your muscles stay strong enough to keep you in your own home. That is building block number 1, and it is coming right now. Building block number 1, the crown of the entire plate. At every single meal, include 1 palm-sized portion of protein and spread that protein evenly across all 3 meals of your day. Here is why this is the block that everything else has been building toward. After 65, the single greatest threat to your independence is not your heart, and it is not your memory. It is the slow, silent loss of muscle, a condition doctors call sarcopenia. Muscle is not just for lifting. It is what lets you rise from a chair, catch yourself when you stumble, and climb the stairs to your own bedroom. Remember the narrowing river from earlier. This is where it matters most, because your aging muscles have grown hard of hearing to protein. A younger body hears a whisper of protein and starts building. An older body needs you to knock loudly with a real serving before it answers and builds anything at all. Skip protein or sprinkle it thinly across the day, and your body quietly breaks down its own muscle to survive, like a household burning its own furniture for heat. Major research on aging and muscle has shown that older adults need meaningfully more protein than younger ones, just to hold on to what they have. Many geriatric nutrition experts now recommend older adults aim higher than the old standard and spread that protein across the day. Large trials pairing protein with movement show that older adults can build real strength well into their 80s. So here is the full protocol, and this is the heart of everything. Aim for roughly 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal, and the simplest, no-counting picture of that is one portion the size and thickness of your own palm. That is the palm of protein 3 times a day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast is where most people over 65 fail, so this matters most in the morning. Toast and jam has almost no protein, so add eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a scoop of protein to your morning. Good sources are eggs, fish, chicken, turkey, lean meat, Greek yogurt, beans, lentils, and tofu. The reason to spread it evenly is that your body can only use so much at once to build muscle, so 3 palms across the day beats 1 giant steak at dinner. Within about 30 minutes of any walking or strength exercise, have some of that protein to help your body repair. The biggest mistake is the light breakfast, the skipped lunch, and all the protein crammed into dinner, which leaves your muscles starved for most of the day. 3 meals, 1 palm each, every single day. Now, the most important safety note in this entire video, so listen closely. If you have kidney disease or you have ever been told to limit your protein, this advice may not be for you, and you must talk to your doctor before adding any. This is not a small detail, it is essential. For everyone else, increase your protein gradually over a couple of weeks, so your appetite and digestion can adjust. If chewing meat is hard, lean on eggs, yogurt, fish, beans, and smooth protein sources that need no chewing at all. And drink water through the day as you raise your protein, because your body needs it to process the extra. If you ever feel unwell as you change your eating, stop and check with your doctor rather than pushing on. Here is the pairing that turns protein into strength. Protein alone builds very little. You must pair each palm of protein with gentle movement, like standing from a chair 10 times, a short walk, or a little light resistance. Think of protein as the bricks and movement as the bricklayer. Bricks piled in the yard build no wall, but bricks plus a builder raise a house. And that house is the body that keeps you independent. And this is the #1 block I promised you at the very beginning, the one almost nobody talks about. Here is the truth that can change your next 10 years. Every palm of protein you eat today, paired with a little movement, is a deposit into a strength account you will draw on when you are 85 and still climbing your own stairs. The person who protects their muscle after 65 is the person who stays in their own home on their own terms for years longer. Protein is not about vanity. Muscle is not about the gym. Independence is built 1 palm at a time, 1 meal at a time, starting with your very next plate. Let me show you how this comes together with a case of the kind documented in the rehabilitation literature. Consider a typical example: a 74-year-old woman who came in worried she was fading. She had grown afraid of falling, needed both hands to push herself up from a chair, and had quietly stopped going out. Her meals looked healthy to her: tea and toast in the morning, a small soup at lunch, and most of her food at dinner, but her plate was almost empty of protein for most of the day. The change was simple, and it was built on the very blocks you just learned. She filled half her plate with vegetables and kept a fist of whole carbohydrate. She added a thumb of olive oil and began eating her vegetables and protein before her starch. Most importantly, she put a palm of protein at every meal, starting with eggs or yogurt at breakfast instead of just toast. And she paired it with standing up from her chair 10 times twice a day. Within about 12 weeks, the difference was plain to see. She could rise from her chair without using her hands. She was walking to the shops again and carrying her own bag home. Nothing exotic changed her life. Just the same plate she always used, finally built the way an aging body needs, 1 meal at a time. So let us turn all of this into something you can start immediately. Here is your simple checklist, and every step has a number, so there is nothing to guess. Tonight, at your very next meal, put 1 palm-sized portion of protein on your plate, even if nothing else is perfect yet. This week, add a palm of protein to breakfast every single morning, with eggs, yogurt, or cottage cheese, because breakfast is where most people over 65 fall short. Every day, fill 1/2 of your plate with 2 different colors of vegetables, about 2 cupped handfuls in total. Keep your slow carbohydrate to 1/4 of the plate, roughly the size of your closed fist, and choose the whole grain or the bean over the white version. At every meal, eat your vegetables and protein first, then turn to the starch only in the last third of the meal. And 2 times a day, pair your eating with a little movement, like standing from a chair 10 times to turn that protein into real strength in your legs. Through the whole day, sip water regularly, aiming for about 6 to 8 glasses, because even mild thirst can leave you weak and dizzy, that is it. Your own hand is the measuring cup and the food is already in your kitchen. Start with just one step tonight and add the next when it feels natural. Before you go, think of someone in your life who needs to hear this. Maybe a parent, a partner, or a friend who has been getting weaker and quieter, eating less and less, and believing that is simply what age looks like. Share this video with them because the plate you just learned could be the thing that keeps them in their own home. And tell me in the comments which of these 5 blocks you are starting tonight. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. If this gave you the science your last appointment did not have time for, subscribe to this channel because that is our whole mission here, to give seniors the real reasons a 12-minute visit always skips. There is a new one every week, made for exactly this stage of life. One important thing before we finish, this video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Bennett Thorne. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.